All right, the time is 3 p.m. on Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. I'm calling to order the Board of Equalization. Today we have Commissioners Kelly Burmeister, Warren Mixon Klug, as well as our County Administrator Bonnie Moore, Tabby Belushi from our Clerk and Register of Deeds Office. We have Dan Pittman, our County Assessor, Jeff Meixel, our County Treasurer, and Denny Wilson, our County Engineer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the wall of the boardroom. With that, agenda item is public comments. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to the board before the meeting progresses? All right, seeing none, we will continue. On the Board of Equalization, agenda number 5, consent equalization agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Burmeister, second by Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All right, moving on to agenda item 6, the regular equalization agenda is text corrections 17577 through 17578. Dan Pittman, our County Assessor, if we have any questions.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Warren, second by Burmeister. Any further comments? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All right. 7 is executive session, which I don't believe we have need for this afternoon. So with all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. All right, it is now 3:02 p.m. I'm calling to order the Board of Commissioners. Today we have present Commissioners Kelly Burmeister, Warren Mixon Klug, as well as our County Administrator Bonnie Moore, Tabby Belushi from the Clerk and Register of Deeds Office, our County Assessor Dan Pittman, County Treasurer Jeff Meixel, and County Engineer Denny Wilson. With that, we'll open up to public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to make any statements before the Board of Commissioners meeting continues? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, Commissioner Administrator announcements and comments. I'm going to go ahead and start out as we have a Human Resources Director, Sharon Bamer, who is retiring. So if I could ask Sharon if you could please come up. We'll come on down and read a few things on the record.
That's good. Now, Joel. Okay. I've known Joel before. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So Sharon, thank you for coming up. I'll try to keep this brief. Today we recognize Human Services Director Sharon Bamer, who is retiring after 18 years of dedicated service here at Sarpy County. It's clear to anybody who has known her that Sharon has a heart for helping others. She has had a difficult job of determining how to best allocate county resources to those in need. She has made decisions that have made a remarkable impact, and we see that reflected throughout your entire career. She has played a vital role in supporting Sarpy families during the 2019 flood, and she helped secure assistance for those in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. She's coordinated food drives and Adopt a Family, holiday assistance, and back-to-school programs. Her work has no doubt touched the lives of thousands in our community. Sharon has also served as the mentor coordinator for the county's Veterans Treatment Court. She was uniquely qualified to make a difference in that role. Sharon is a 10-year veteran of the United States Army, so our gratitude expands beyond her service to the county, but our country as well. She also worked for the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and Child Protective Services before joining our team. As you can tell, Sharon knew what it meant to personify Sarpy County's spirit of service. That commitment will endure in her retirement. I'm told that Sharon will volunteer with the same group that trained her service dog, Radar. Sharon, we're very grateful for your service and your impact to Sarpy County. It's very inspiring, and we wish you absolutely nothing but the best in your retirement. So we have a retirement plaque. We would love to have you come up to get a picture, and then we'd love to invite your family up for a photo as well. And if you would like to say anything, please feel free to do so. All right.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Would anybody from our family like to come up for a photo? With that, we'll open up to comments from commissioners. Commissioner Kelly.
No comments today, thanks.
I just want to say briefly about Sharon. When the 2019 floods happened, I'd been a county commissioner for about 30 days. I felt completely like I was not helpful in any regard. And so I went to Jesse Erritt's Organization of the Charities and worked watching Sharon and Jesse do their thing that they do for our community. And it was amazing. It's probably still, I describe that as one of the best efforts in county government I've seen to date in my role as county commissioner. And so I just really want to say that we really appreciate all you've done here, Sharon.
No comment.
No comment.
Just want to briefly once again wish you happy retirement, Sharon, and thank you again for all you did for the county.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on now to the consent commissioners agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to see moved? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Warren, second by Kelly. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All right, moving to the regular agenda. Agenda item 6.1 is a public hearing and resolution 2025-85, Sanitary Improvement District, SID 223, Sugar Creek Park Improvement, Pickleball Court Addition, located in the vicinity of South 189th Street and Harrison Street construction site, and future maintenance paid fully by the SID in the amount of $170,000.
Good afternoon. We have the SID engineer here if there's any questions.
Any questions? All right, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open up. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak to this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Warren, second by Burmeister. Any further discussion? Please vote. Thank you.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All right, 6.2, Resolution 2025-79, 2024 Nebraska Department of Agriculture Noxious Weed Program Reports and Requirements Summary. Joshua Nelson, Noxious Weed Superintendent.
Josh Nelson, Sarpy County Noxious Weed Control. The Nebraska Department of Agriculture requires that I meet in front of the board to discuss the scores from my annual reports. And it's just a good way to spark conversation. And this time of year, everything's starting to grow. So did well on the reports. They won't always reflect this nicely. It all is dependent on landowner participation and cooperation. So I say thank you to everyone who was a part of that throughout the year. That my scores wouldn't have been what they were without that help. So following up with that, my general notice is out in the paper, so I'll be conducting inspections, meeting with landowners from the previous year, trying to be more proactive and trying to get stuff figured out before it becomes an issue. For the landowners that are out and about too, this is the time of year when you should start reaching out to me for certified weed-free forage. A lot of people that take horses to national parks have to have certified weed-free hay, and anything on the Nebraska Department of Transportation right-of-way requires that. So sometimes they'll go to producers and have me come in and say, hey, this is clear of all the noxious weeds, and there's about 150 weeds on that list that we also look for. In terms of discussing the scores and all that, I am now on the Nebraska Invasive Species Council, so that's a great asset for when people have questions about plants. So there's all kinds of stakeholders and different people from all walks of Nebraska where we deal with anything invasive. And it's also the driving force on what makes the noxious weed list. So we have a lot of people that are a lot smarter than I am working towards keeping Nebraska native, so to speak. My office is always open. I encourage the public to reach out to me and create control plans, and I love to provide education, and for everything I don't know, I have plenty of contacts. So with that, I'd just like to thank administration, planning and building for helping me get along. So,
Any questions, comments?
Perfect score?
yeah.
Nice.
No pressure for next year, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been, God, I don't know, I hate to say this, it's like 13th report I've gotten since I've been a commander. I don't think we've ever had a perfect score before. If we have, I don't remember it. Yeah. And so I'm sure the citizens assisted your ability to achieve that, but these kind of things don't happen by happenstance. They happen because you've been doing a good job and taking care of business. So really appreciate your efforts on this, and congratulations on the fabulous report.
Thank you.
I appreciate your hard work and your modesty as well. It comes across. Thank you very much.
He comes from good blood.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Resolution 6.3 is 2025-98. Whoops, sorry about that. Need to,
Motion to approve.
thank you. Motion by Burmeister, second by Warren. Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
All right, now, 6.3, Resolution 2025-98. It's possible vacation of portions of South 198th Street right-of-way adjacent to Gretna Landing Development, H&S Bank 192 LLC. Andrea Gosnell-Parker.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Annie Gosnell-Parker, Deputy County Attorney. Today, the resolution for the vacation of the right-of-way at South 198th Street, adjacent to Gretna Landing, comes before you. Prior to today, an application was filed. Electors were verified. The county engineer provided a recommendation on that application. A public hearing was set and published for pursuant to statute. Public hearing was held last week, and today the resolution before you reflects the recommendation of the county engineer on which portions to vacate, as well as directs that such vacation, should it pass, the land will revert to the adjacent landowners.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Warren, second by Kelly. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please. Or please vote.
Ayes 4, nays 1, motion carried.
Moving on to Agenda 6.4, Sarpy County Quarterly Financial Dashboard Report, Quarter 3, Fiscal Year 2025 Financial Update. Dan Talakis, Chief Financial Officer. You, Dan?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Wanted to take this opportunity to first remind everybody that our webpage, specifically the fiscal and budget webpage, does include a link to our quarterly financials. On the left-hand side, there's this quarterly financials tab, which does link to the quarterly financials for the current fiscal year and also some prior fiscal years as well. The report that was included in your packet that we will talk about today is this first link, this dashboard report. So I'll pull that up here and we'll take a look at some items. So this is meant to be a brief presentation regarding the financial situation of the county as of the end of Q3 fiscal year 25, which was March 31st. So revenues for the current fiscal year are at $155 million, which is 89% of the current year budget. Couple highlights in here, local revenues are at 99% of the budgeted amount. Some call outs here that we'd like to make. Some revenues that are trending high are passport revenue inside of the clerk's office, interest on investments inside of the treasurer's office, recovered election costs, building permits, and a few others that are noted in those highlights. Federal revenue is at 107% of our budgeted revenue amount. This is mostly due to the U.S. Marshals contract and the revenues that we've brought in through that contract, at least the overages. State revenue and property taxes are at 81%, which is pretty typical to be in the 80% range at the end of Q3. And then the transfers are at 100%. Once those were approved in October, we went ahead and did those transfers immediately all at one time. On the expense side, we've spent $139 million, which is just under 50% of the county budget. Some items here, personnel services, we'll talk about in a second, but it is at 72% of the current budget. And we're looking at really that 75% trigger number here for these items in terms of percent of the budget spent year to date. The rentals line item, we've spent 98% of that budget so far. Just to identify an expense here, the Wall Street lease for probation was an unbudgeted item, so that's why you see that as being a considerably high percentage of the budget. Again, transfers on the expense side already at 100% because we've already completed them, and we have not touched our cash reserve to date. Just to follow up on those personnel costs again, for the general fund, we're at 72% of our budget. All other funds, 73% of our budget. It's exactly what we hope to see at this point in time. For the total of all funds, of about $67 million to date. Employment numbers are at 690, which is an increase of where it was a year ago at this time. As you all know, you did not approve any new employees in the fiscal year 25 budget process. That increase is a reflection of the filling of vacant positions. I mentioned at the last quarterly report, and I'll mention again, that the Human Resources Department has undertaken a project to attach position control numbers to each position that's approved in the budget. So not my next quarterly report, but for the first one in fiscal year 26, this section is going to change a little bit, where we will identify the count of approved positions in the budget and then give you a count of how many of those positions are filled, so you can see our percentage of positions that are filled or open at that point.
Dan, the 13 elected officials, can you expand upon that? What are you saying there?
So included in this 690 count is the 13 elected officials, so county assessor, county treasurer.
All elected officials?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And what's all the rest of the employees are just those that work more than 30 hours a week?
That is accurate. Correct.
Okay.
The next section of the dashboard report outlays the county's cash position as of March 31st. I've noted it for some specific funds, as well as any reserves or requirements that are a part of the cash balance of each fund. So in the general fund, we have $46 million in cash. That includes the $19 million reserve. Public Works funds, we currently have $31 million. As you know, we have some road projects that are coming up, so that will be utilized here over the next 12 months or so. And then in the landfill fund, we do have a $4.3 million requirement for post-closure. That is sitting in that $5.6 million cash balance. In the sewer fund, we have $2.6 million set aside for the wastewater agency NDEE loan reserve that we are required to fulfill. And then in the health insurance fund, we do have $1.4 million employer-funded reserve in that fund.
Is that a good amount?
It is appropriate at this point, yes.
Okay.
We want to make sure we have an adequate reserve, especially at the beginning, I'll mention again, this reserve was funded by the employer, by the county. That cash balance in that fund will continue to grow, hopefully. And at some point, we should be able to look at reimbursing the county for that reserve because the plan has done well enough to fund its own reserve at that point.
So the portion of all the premiums will go into this reserve over time?
Correct. It'll just become a cash balance in the fund, yes.
And you think that's enough for 690 people?
That is appropriate, yes.
Okay.
So the total cash balance for the county at the end of March 31st was $127.5 million. The last section on the first page of the dashboard report is a look into our self-insured fund. Really, I want to highlight a couple things here on the employee and employer contributions at 76 and 78% of our budget. So we're contributing to the fund exactly as expected. On the expense side, insurance claims are at 71% of our budget, and then premiums for both stop loss and administrative fees are right around that 75% figure as well. So claims are coming in a little bit under expected so far to date, and that's a really good thing. The column to the right is the lifetime of the plan. So this would be from December of 23 until March 31st of 25. We've taken in $17.1 million in revenue in that fund and paid out just under $14 million for a $3.4 million cash balance. Again, I referenced that inside that cash balance is the $1.4 million reserve that was funded by the county. So if you were to back that out, the performance of the actual plan has generated a $2 million cash balance. But then we also had $637,000 in claims that were incurred in March that we didn't pay until April. So if you back that out as well, the actual plan has generated about a $1.4 million balance over a 15-month period. So it's about $100,000 a month. Any questions on page 1 of the dashboard report?
So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here since this is just a dashboard. But on the revenue side, for the local, you said that passports were way up.
The passport revenue as of March 31st was about $80,000 more than the budget.
Okay. That's good, right?
That's great.
Good job, clerk's office. But the question, though, is inheritance tax.
Yes.
How much of that, because I was listening to the testimony today down in Lincoln about the inheritance proposal, how much of that percentage of 99% would be inheritance tax, ballpark?
So the inheritance tax budget is $2.5 million.
Okay.
As of March 31st, the Treasurer's Office has taken in $4.8 million in inheritance tax revenue. So well more than double of the budget. Now, there is one inheritance tax payee that it was a significant amount of that overage. So, inheritance tax, it's unpredictable. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like when it comes in. Right. So of that $4.8 million that's been collected, $2 million of that was from one payee.
Okay, so it's roughly a little less than 10% of that total.
Correct.
And the only reason I bring that up is because it could that source of revenue could disappear. So we probably need to be thinking about how we replace it. And it sounds like passports would be one good place to start.
I don't know that we can generate $2.3 million in passport revenue, but
just kidding. Maybe we start staying open on the weekends, stuff like that. No,
I will say, just as a follow-up to that, and I know you guys are all paying attention to it, but the inheritance tax bill, LB 468, as well, with Amendment 874, does include replacement revenue for any reduction in inheritance tax that they make. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But as it sits right now, it does include replacement revenue.
Dan, can you just talk generally about what we use inheritance tax dollars on, and specifically that we don't use it towards things like salaries?
Correct. Inheritance tax is not used for any operating expenses or ongoing expenses. The priorities for inheritance tax dollars are public safety, road and sewer infrastructure, and then mental health initiatives, and then some unfunded mandates.
And then the legislation, there are some amendments to have replacement revenue and some that take away the replacement revenue. So-
There is another amendment to LB 468's Amendment 1069 that does phase out inheritance tax over a period of time with no replacement revenue. You're correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Page 2 of the dashboard report. This is a comparison of where we sit at March 31st of 25 versus March 31st of 2024. I'm not going to go line by line through these. I will summarize the total lines. So for revenues, we've generated $18 million more in the 9 months of fiscal year 25 than we did in the first 9 months of fiscal year 24. It's an increase of 13%. Most of that is because we're not really comparing apples to apples right now. With the implementation of the self-insured insurance fund that went into effect January of 24, we're really seeing that when premiums are paid by the employee and the employer, those are then counted as a revenue into Fund 5900. So these revenue numbers for fiscal year 25 are a little bit inflated to reflect that activity. On the expense side, we've spent $138.8 million. It's 1% higher than where we were at last year at this point in time. There's kind of an offset here where we have incurred a little bit more of an expense just with salaries going up and other operating expenses going up. But then we've also spent a little bit less since we don't have the ARPA dollars anymore. From a cash standpoint, we're at $127.6 million compared to $123 million last year, $4.6 million increase, about 4% higher than we were last year. And then the last chart here is this is the second time I've presented this with this new chart in it. It shows our outstanding debt over the next 20 years. It has our debt listing identified by each bond issuance there with the outstanding principal amount and the next payment amounts so that everybody's aware of when those are going to be paid. And you'll see that on the governmental debt. A lot of those have a payment that are coming up in the next couple months. At the last presentation, I was asked to include a summary of the debt as a portion of the budget. So the entire county budget is $283.9 million. Inside that is $8.7 million of principal repayment and $4.5 million of interest repayment for a total of about 4.7% of the budget. 4.7% of the budget is for principal and interest repayment.
So does the Platteview Road project, is that rolled up in here somewhere?
So the Platteview Road project is not in here presently. The plan is when I present the budget, you'll see this exact same graph here, and there will be a new part of each of the bar graphs from 27 on that'll show the debt repayment on that bond issuance or projected debt repayment.
That should bump it up pretty significantly, shouldn't it?
It'll bump it up significantly. You'll see it'll be noticeable on the chart.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Any questions on page 2 of the report or any other comments for me? Just a reminder again, this report that I just went over, as well as some reports that are a little bit more number heavy, the revenue year to date, expense year to date, and then cash reports are available on our website.
So we're in April, right? And almost May. Mm-hmm. So how's the budget preparation going for the next fiscal year?
Departmental budgets are due to the fiscal office by tomorrow at 5 p.m. I believe we received a little bit more than half of them as I stand in front of you today. So
make sure the clerk bumps up their budget for the passports. No sandbagging. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
I don't believe there's a resolution for this. Agenda 6.5, we're going to hold off on and move to agenda item. We'll come back to 6.5, so we'll move to executive session 7.1 for contract negotiations.
Are we going to do that now?
We're going to do that now, then we'll come back. Yeah.
Okay. For the protection of the public interest, I move we go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations. Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Warren. Please vote. it is now 3:30. We'll go to executive session where our discussion will be restricted to contract negotiations.
Ayes 5, nays
3:48 to 3:30, we went into executive session where our discussion was restricted to contract negotiations. I need a motion that we return to regular session.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Warren, second by Burmeister. Please vote. All right. Now we're to agenda item 6.5, Sarpy County Correction Center Jail Quarterly Tour Inspection. Joe Martin. 6.5 Sarpy County Corrections quarterly jail tour. Thank you, Joe, for that. With that, all agenda items having been addressed, as published, the Board of Commissioners is adjourned. For the Board of Corrections, today we have Commissioners Kelly, Burmeister, Warren, Mixon, and Klug, as well as our County Administrator Bonnie Moore, Tabby Belushi from the Clerk's Office. Open up to any public comments for the Board of Corrections.
Well, I'd just like to address the large crowd here.
There's no public. Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda item 4.
There's nobody here that doesn't have to be here.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion by Burmeister, second by Warren. Any discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 5, nays none, motion carried.
Agenda item 4.2, Board of Corrections update. Joe Martin, Corrections Director.
Before Joe gets up here, because I know she loves public recognition, Joe was nominated and selected to receive the 2025 Nebraska Certified Public Manager Program Alumni Award through UNO's Public Administration Program. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Joe. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've had a busy springtime, or I guess late winter, early spring. We've done a lot of department-wide training. We're finishing up, actually this is the last week of our strategic management, the direct supervision model that staff is finishing up. Tons of great feedback. They are really embracing it and really liking the challenge. We also had a hiring class that we were focused on, a female hiring class. We had the most applicants that we've ever had. We had over 90 applicants. Usually we average about 45, so that was a positive. We ended up hiring 4 females and 2 males that will begin on May 18th. During the spring, during the last few months, we've actually updated because we've grown so much and we're transitioning and we audit more than we ever have and just updating our policies. We have updated all the content of our training for our new hires. It's a 4-week training class, and I think we're going to get a lot better content during the training sessions, and it'll be a great improvement. So, and then I wanted to discuss our ADP. So since January, we have had, from January through April, our ADP is about 237 inmates. That is up from, if I compare that to 2024, we had an average about 215 inmates. So that's about 20 inmates difference. I do want to note that we do have 18 U.S. Marshals that are currently, they're all males in custody. So that's, we're not taking the Marshals last year at this time. So that's been a change. And our average length of stay is about 21 days for this 2025, and 2024, our average length of stay was 18 days to compare. Do you guys have any questions? Or
Those Marshals inmates that you're taking, are they pretrial? Are they sentenced?
They're pretrial.
They are.
Yes.
Okay. And are there classifications like all over the board, or are they generally kind of the same classification?
So they generally fall in the medium. We do have a few that fall in the max, probably 2 to 5 that fall in the max classification, but generally they fall under those medium classifications.
What generally, are they kind of the same? I don't know anything about the Marshals inmates, as I'm sitting here thinking I don't know about that. So are they generally the same crimes? What?
No, but when you do have a U.S. Marshals hold, that is going to have you fall into the medium classification, because anybody with a hold ends up being medium. And generally their crimes are drug related. We do have a couple that have like illegal entry, I think we have 3 total right now, but they generally fall under drug crimes, I think, for the majority of them.
Thanks.
Do you have any other questions?
Good job.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Jo.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jo.
have a great day.
Right, all agenda items having been addressed, as published, the Board of Corrections is adjourned.